Recently, a group of educators got together to discuss one of the major issues in this year's election, the state of our education. We asked them to share what important ideas and thoughts they had that would help voters make decisions when they cast their votes in November. Here's what they had to say.
What I'd like to talk to voters about is this cockamamie notion that is being pushed the past few years that accuses educators and school boards of indoctrinating students and pushing a liberal agenda that undercuts the values parents teach their children in the home. First of all, I'm not, and I don't know any teacher interested in indoctrinating our students. We're not pushing any agenda other than to teach our students the curriculum and life skills they need to succeed in the world. As to values, my own expectation is that my students treat one another with kindness and respect, the teachers, staff, and each other. That's it. But as an educator, I am alarmed, and so should voters, by the significant interference of Republican politicians in how schools are run and what is taught. Politicians who have never taught or haven't been inside of a school in the last decade, some without even a college degree, are trying to tell teachers with specialized degrees in the field and decades of experience how and what to teach. What most voters don't realize is that the basic curriculum we teach is laid out in state statute.
Is that true?
Yes. So, for example, we're required to provide citizenship instruction, which covers the basic workings of all levels of government, the responsibilities of citizenship, and the basic values of our government. We're also expected to, and this is a quote from the statute, teach state, national, and world history, an appreciation and understanding of different value systems and cultures, and an understanding of human relations, particularly with the regard of American Indians, Black Americans, and Hispanics. In addition, we are to teach students, quote, the skills needed to cope with social change.
Wow.
But just last spring, the GOP legislators attempted to pass multiple bills which completely contradicted those educational goals, some of which have been part of Wisconsin's educational system for more than 50 years. The values of the educational system hasn't changed in a half of a century. It's the recent conservative political wave that has. Now, instead of teaching the whole of American and world history, the Republicans are trying to pass bills to eliminate the Hispanic and Black and Indigenous and Asian perspectives by banning books and even words that we use to help students better understand cultural differences and cope with social change. State statutes also require us to help students develop the capacity for self-expression, to think critically, and to develop positive psychological, emotional, and problem-solving skills. We're no longer teaching just the 3 R's. We are educating our future citizens and preparing our students to succeed in a world that is much bigger and more complicated than it was even 20 years ago. As a teacher, I'm trained and able to teach sensitive and complex subjects and to help students develop those critical thinking and social and emotional skills that they need to succeed in the classroom and beyond. And I do that without forcing my own views on anyone. I think the bigger concern is how hard it will be to teach if the GOP ever succeeds in passing their legislation to ban the books and even the language that I use to effectively do my job. It's pretty hard to give students a solid foundation in our history or to prepare them to understand current social issues when Republican legislators want to ban classic books like To Kill a Mockingbird or some of the most recent books that deal with more recent social changes. In one bill, Republicans attempted to stop us from using words like abolitionists or equity. Tell me, how can I teach about the Civil War without using the word abolitionist or even the Equal Rights Amendment without using the word equity, or about Nazi Germany or the Ku Klux Klan without using the word white supremacy? The short answer is that I can't. If these Republican legislators have their way, my ability to effectively teach will be diminished, and my students, well, all Wisconsin students, will not receive the quality of education they deserve and taxpayers expect. Thankfully, we currently have a Democratic leader who vetoed the harmful bill that actually made it to his desk. But all that changes if a Republican wins the governor's race in November, or if Republicans win any more legislative races. All in all, I would say to voters the same thing I say to my students and most parents to tell their kids: actions speak louder than words. While Republicans try to starve our public schools, micromanage our educators, and risk leaving our students ill-prepared to take their place as our future leaders, Democrats continue to advocate for increased investment in our schools and in our students. Our kids, our communities, and in my opinion, democracy as a whole, are at risk by the Republicans' relentless assault on public education. I encourage every voter to remember that when they cast their vote.
Well, you certainly have schooled me. I had no idea that all of those bans were being attempted. So I have just one question for you then. Who are you going to be voting for in November, and why?
I'll be voting for Democrats because they trust educators.